I'm Walid Tamtam with True North here in Belém, Brazil, reporting from on the ground at day one of the Belém Climate Summit, the prelude events to the COP30 UN Climate Change Convention, the largest climate change event in the world, where international delegations, business leaders, and prime ministers and presidents are expected to arrive shortly to discuss their proposals, some of which can be absurd, on how to solve the so-called climate change issue while receiving great money from their taxpayers at home, distributing it to developing nations, and enforcing control measures like EV mandates and even controlling food regulations, encouraging people possibly to eat bugs, and other ridiculous proposals that we'll be exploring in the upcoming days. Now, this is day one of the Belém Climate Summit. The Belém Climate Summit is the Brazilian government, the Lula leftist-led Brazilian government's attempt to fundraise and bring attention to their own domestic climate change agenda. It's primarily focused on the Amazon rainforest issue, an issue that has received international attention in previous years, and specifically attention from world leaders on the left, like Emmanuel Macron of France, and also formerly Prime Minister Justin Trudeau of Canada. So we'll be watching very closely and reporting on the ground on day one here on Thursday, and tomorrow, day two, and the final day of the Leaders Summit from the Belém Climate Summit. And of course, on the 10th, COP30 will commence, and we will give you more in due time. We'll talk to activists, protesters, delegations, leaders, and all peoples of interest to get you guys more info on the story. I tried catching up with the EU head, Ursula von Leyen, who was talking to CNN Brazil for a while, and of course I tried to get her to comment on EU-Canada relations, specifically on the framework of Canada's carbon tax and whether or not she rated that as a positive measure to combat climate change in her view. But of course she wasn't able to answer anyone's questions. She just walked through the corridor and went out right to the event. She wasn't interested in doing any media at the time, beyond of course CNN, but Brazilian CNN for that matter. So we were looking forward to finding if we can get some comments from other EU delegations, officials, prime ministers. I know Prime Minister Keir Starmer is here today, as well as French President Emmanuel Macron. So we'll do our best here at True North in Belém, Brazil, to catch up with these officials and explore Canada's impression and view and reputation in the European sphere. I know Carney has called himself the most European, or Canada, he's called Canada rather, the most European country outside of Europe. So let's see if the Europeans see it the same way. How would you judge Canada's job on its carbon tax regime? How do you rate Canada?
The president,
Ursula, how would you rate Mark Carney's leadership of Canada given his history on environment?
There will be other opportunities.
How do you rate Mark Carney's leadership on climate? Anything on Mark Carney in Canada?
Bueno, sí.
Here in Brazil, COP30, earlier today, UN Chief Antonio Guterres demanded developed nations to fork up $1.3 trillion of tax dollars to fund debt relief and climate action in developing nations, and demanded $300 billion be allocated immediately to the United Nations climate efforts.
Trade and investment policies must support climate ambition, not undermine it. Second, we must demonstrate a clear and credible path to reaching the $1.3 trillion a year in climate finance for developing countries by 2035, as agreed at COP29 in Baku. Developed countries must take the lead in mobilizing $300 billion annually, delivering affordable, predictable finance at the agreed scale. And all providers must show they will contribute to meeting the $300 billion and $1.3 trillion milestones. It's no longer time for negotiations. It's time for implementation, implementation, implementation.
In terms of Canada's presence here at COP30 in Brazil, so far I've only caught up with the ambassador very briefly walking by. Didn't want to get any questions or on camera, and had to run as fast as he could to the doors of the restricted area where he was able to give a speech earlier today to a closed room of delegates from around the world. Now, Canada has so far only sent their Brazilian ambassador, although it is believed, according to reports after the Environment Canada briefed media, we're expecting most likely former Environment Minister Stephen Guilbeault to possibly show up as well, so we'll be looking out for him. The official list of the Canada's delegation has not been confirmed yet, so I will keep you posted in terms of updates as they come. Very likely that they'll be here by Monday when the COP30 UN aspect of the summit begins officially and fully. Canada does have a pavilion here prepared in the building, but it is not accessible or visible yet. So we will dive into that information for you and give you guys some behind the scenes footage and look out for both Canada's delegation and presence at this conference, and hopefully find out what kind of money or initiatives we're coming into on the world stage. I'm Walid Tamtam, Belém para Brazil, signing off for True North.